bem-vindos a mais um episódio do Podbox. E hoje o papo é muito sério e muito chique, porque estamos recebendo Stephanie Phillips, da SBR Media, agente de vários autores que nós publicamos, e a Carol está aqui hoje para me ajudar nesse bate-papo muito interessante para vocês, tá? Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. Good morning.
Carol Dias.
She had me to ask all the questions.
Okay.
Se tiver alguma pergunta, você vai falando que a gente vai, tá? Stephanie.
Easy questions.
I just want to start asking, how did you start in this career? How did you find you want to be a agent? How it was for you?
Okay. 11 years ago, I think it is now. If I do my math correctly.
Okay.
I started when because my son is now 12. When he was a year old, I started a review blog, much like Anastasia's. And so it's called Stephanie's Book Reports.
Okay.
And because all of my friends were asking, what are you reading? What are you reading? What are you reading?
And do you still have this account? Do you use it?
Yes. Well, yes. My friend Renee reviews all of her books on there. I have not had time to review any books lately. But yes, it is still active. Yeah. It's very hard. And so I went from there. I worked for I started a group of us started a book signing that my blog hosted, and then I had an internet radio show that was called That's Novel. And then I went to work for a publisher, and after about 9 months of it being employed there, they were going to close. And a couple of my authors came to me and said, why don't you become our agent? And I said, excuse me, what are you talking about? So I had to do a lot of research as to what an agent does, how I was pretty much doing everything that an agent did, or at least I thought at the time. And so I was like, yeah, sure, like let's try it. And 8 years later, here we are. I don't remember how many. I should probably count how many I started with. Probably like 10, I think, maybe, or a little less than 10 authors. And now I have 9 other agents, and we have over 420 clients.
Okay, this is for all agents.
Yes.
All amazing people.
Yes. They're wonderful to work with, and we have some great clients. So that's a plus. We work with a lot of independent authors, so it's great in that space, because that's what I was reviewing, was a lot of indie authors. So I knew that much more than not that I didn't know the traditional authors as well, because I grew up reading, because there was no such thing. I'm that old. There was no such thing.
And how do you choose your authors? What do you look for in an author for your agents? What is important for an author?
Their sales and reviews, and doesn't necessarily have to be popularity.
Okay.
But like in foreign markets, because I'm in the United States, in foreign markets, it helps. Popularity obviously helps, but then also if you're going to introduce somebody to the foreign market, when I'm asking Anastasia if she would be interested in an author that she might not have ever heard of, it's here's like the reviews, here's what people are saying, this is the type of book. So in order for us to look at a client, we look at all of those things. How are their sales going? Are people loving the book when they're reviewing the book? Because there are some that people love, which is fine too, but it's not every book is for everyone. That's why there are millions of books.
We will always say this here, because people just want to I don't like this book, so this book is the worst book ever. And it's not. For me, it's a good book. For her, she likes to read different stories. So we have books for everybody. Just have to choose and to find the perfect one.
Right. Yes, those are my children. They're not big readers, and so I have said we just haven't found what you like to read yet. Well, once we find that, then you will take off in your reading journey. I mean, that's in my opinion, that's realistically, you just have to find what appeals to you, and not every book is going to do that.
Yeah, I always say that we read all the time. We read in our phones. We read for school, for college. We're always reading. So we have this custom. We just have to find what we like, what is good for
Yes.
us.
Most definitely. Whether it be fiction, nonfiction, romance,
Yeah.
right? Thrillers or paranormal or fantasy or yes, it's or just
What you
general fiction.
don't like if read?
I don't. I don't like personally. I'm not a nonfiction reader. It bores me. Tends to put me to sleep.
Amen.
Sorry.
No fiction
right? I read historical romances when I was younger. I don't usually read them now. Not that I just don't like them; they just don't appeal to me much these days.
Yeah.
Sadly enough. Sorry, Andy. Sorry. No, I do have one historical romance author, and she knows it's just not. I mean, some of this, I like what she writes, but I don't read a huge amount.
If she writes another kind of book, you're up for this.
Yes. Yes, and then I don't know. Like, I don't read a lot of westerns. I don't read a lot of. I mean, if they have romance in them,
Yeah.
I'll read some of those, but not like westerns as just a whole with like just western fiction. And I don't read a lot of general fiction, but it's not because I don't like it. It's just I'm just not in that space.
Okay.
So there are some like she's not my client, but the Ghostwriter by Alessandra Torre. Did you ever read that novel? So I love that book, and it's like they have it listed, I think, in general fiction, though it's more of like I don't know what it is. I think it's would not be general fiction. But anyway, regardless, I think that's what they have it listed as, the publisher, and it was a really great story. There are some, that I will just grab and read that aren't romance, but for the most part, that's what I've generally been reading over the last decade.
You told us that you have a lot of agents with you, your agents. How do you divide the authors? It's by the genre or just
they pick their own. So we have a query. They each have a query box that authors can fill out for potential representation.
I want to work with this person.
And they have each agent has what they're looking for, their wants, their likes, what they like to work with. Because like we have Katie that likes to work with children's books, but she also works with adult books. And then we have Lashira, who works with
big business. Lashira.
She works a lot with urban romances, but then she will work with Christian fiction, and she also works with some nonfiction. And then she has, like just regular romance and fantasy romance. She has a wide range of stuff, so it depends on what each agent likes to work with. So they pretty much find their own. Mine these days come from referrals, either from my authors or other. I've had publishers, foreign publishers, that have asked me, do you represent this person, or can you represent this person so that we can get their books? If it's not me, then I can ask some of my other agents if they would like to take on another client. But they pretty much decide on their own who they want to represent, and if they think they can work with their books. That's a big thing. It's because you are trying to appeal to someone.
Yeah, you have to sell this book, this person, this author.
Yes.
And if you like the kind of books they write.
How many authors?
Say
a total, or just me?
You and total. Okay.
I think
agency.
Yes, all total for me, because I have about 12 that aren't writing. But if I include them, I have, I think, 93, which is a lot right now. And that includes traditional authors and indie authors, as well as those 12 or so that aren't currently writing. But the agency as a whole has about 425, I think. We just added a couple.
The U.S. have a very strong independent market that we are starting to do this in Brazil. How is it different to work with independent authors from traditional? How is this process?
I would say vastly different because the indies can do whatever they want to in their stories. They can, in the romance area, you can have, in the indie market, you can have as many intimate scenes as you would like in your books. As a traditional author, they tend to take it down to one.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's not as graphically defined.
It's just
it's a gloss over, which is fine. You know, like there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes, you know, like it gets you like, I mean, how many times can you realistically describe an intimate bedroom scene?
Or
you know, or just not really a bedroom, but anywhere that you have that scene. How do you?
It's the same sex scene, but just in a different place.
Right, exactly. And there's only so many positions and so many different ways to do those kind of things. I mean, obviously there are a lot of positions, but like if you are going to describe, you know, exactly, you're not. I mean, so. For an indie author, you can do a lot more in that kind of arena than you can in a traditional market. The editing is also different. There are different styles for the indie market than there are in the traditional market. So in the US, at least, like when you are trying to solicit a traditional publisher and you have an indie author that you're trying to take, you know, they're like, but there's nothing wrong with this book. It's great. It's been edited, but it might have been edited by an indie editor, not a traditional editor, and it's different. And you need to figure out the different styles. And not everybody can cross that bridge because I like this way. I don't want them to change my writing. Well, it's going to happen when you go this direction. And the edits are like scary. The first time I ever got back edits from an editor for one of my clients, I was looking at the edits and I was like,
okay,
I'm glad this is you and not me, you know, because it's very intimidating. Like to me it was, and the author was like, okay, I can do this. But you're just looking at, because it was like underlined and red, you know, and then huge like notes at the beginning of the novel, and then she had like in red notes throughout the story, and I was like, this is it. I don't know that I would want to do this because there's just so much.
We had this author that she had her own editing, but for one specific book we hired one, and we were used to have her books with a few marks on red. Just add these, but with this new was all crossed, and we were like
it's a big difference.
Okay, yes, editing.
Yes, that is the true editing, I suppose. Because when the indie market, in the independent market, you can get away with a lot more. You can be a lot more personable. You don't have to be like strict English. As far as the U.S. market is concerned. So like in the foreign markets, we just trust that everybody's going to be able to figure out what we're talking about here. Just, you know, like if you read the traditional books, there's not a lot of slang. There's not a lot of isms, I guess, like whatever you want to call them. Because, you know, like I was telling Anastasia before we started the podcast, there's a southern, I'm assuming it's because that's where I'm from, the southern United States. You know, if somebody asks you a question and you're like, you should know that that's a yes answer, and that, you know, like the phrase was, is fat meat greasy?
Yeah,
because it is. That's the whole point of fat meat, right? Like it's greasy when you cook it. And so, you know, like this random stuff like that ends up in books. You know, you don't think about being something that won't translate to another language, but you want your books translated into another language, and then you're like, oh wait.
As a translator, I can say that it's a very hard job. We have to look on the internet and pray that anyone has posted this phrase anywhere, so you can
so you would know what it means.
Sometimes we don't have a translation for Portuguese, but we have somebody explaining what this means, and we try to adjust for Portuguese. And I always leave comments to Anastasia because it's like, oh, this Portuguese can be this, and can be this. You can choose what you prefer.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah.
Yes. So we're always happy to answer those questions. I get that a bunch with, we have an Italian publisher that has had some pushback on some of their translations of English phrases like that. I'm like, well, just ask. If you're not sure, just, well, I mean, I don't mind asking the author, what did you mean by this? And would it mean this or would it mean this when you translate it? Because obviously there is a barrier, you know, because we don't speak the same in our sentences, structures, and are not the same.
There are slangs that are just for the moment, for something that happened in this country. And when you are out there, just don't have how to understand it.
Yes. Yes. And it depends too. Also, you know, the United States is huge. Like Brazil is pretty big as well.
Yeah,
but, you know, like the United States, like Brazil is like this big, whereas the United States is like this big plus some, but it's all carved up into multiple states. And we have different accents and different things happening in different part of the United States. So if you don't know general, like the United States geography, but they're trying to describe something that's in Montana, not necessarily New York City, you know, that's in New York in itself, just mentioning the state, New York, Manhattan, where New York City is totally different from the upstate of New York, you know.
Words that are not like we have a word for a fruit that in Rio is a word and in Bahia is a different word.
Different word.
Yeah. We are like, no, this is tangerina. No, this is
Bergamota.
And then first when have these events like the gift box, the gift day that people from other states come, we are all like, no, this is not
right. This is not the same. Yes. This is not what this meant. Yes.
But this is the beauty for that language. And I like this. It's difficult, but it's
yes, I think it's fascinating just to see how things translate to be in other cultures and other languages, you know, because it's just so different. If we take advantage of, or I guess, you know, like being from whichever language that you speak, that is, you know, you just assume that the world is like that, but it is obviously not. And it's trying to understand. And then, you know, we were talking about how the Spanish influence on the Portuguese and some of the similar words, which I can pick out the Spanish words.
Yeah.
And then the Portuguese words, I'm like, what does that mean? Yeah, like I'm trying to decide. But like when I go to Germany or, you know, when I travel to London, obviously I can understand mostly what they say. They do have some, you would think that England and the United States would speak the same English, but they don't.
No, we know.
No, it's just like Portugal and Brazil. You don't speak the same Portuguese. But going to like Germany or France, you know, you're like, okay, what is it? What are you saying? You know, like trying to listen. I find myself a lot of times leaning in to try to, is that going to help me any better? I don't think so.
In another day, 2 authors from London, not from England, but one from North and another from South.
The South, yes.
And I was like, what are you guys saying? This is not the same language.
Not the same.
No, you're from the same country.
That's exactly it. Because there's that influence of, you know, the Scottish and Wales and then the Irish and then, you know, like in the south of England, they are closer to France. So they have also that kind of influence. So it really like Europe as a whole has a whole different, it's so different. And then just to listen to them when they start going, like I'm sure it's the same when you guys start talking and you're like getting faster and faster and faster because you've got that rapport, so you can just really go. And then listening to them, and I'm like,
you have to say,
what English
very slow.
Exactly. What did you just say? Yes. It's like if you've ever been to Jamaica, I mean, they talk really fast in Jamaica. And when they're speaking their native, you know, because they speak English, but they also have the Jamaican language. And when they're speaking in Jamaican, you're like,
this is not English, please.
Yes, like slow down so I can understand. Because there is some English influence in that. But still, you're like, wait a minute. I can't understand. Just slow down. Yeah, I mean, it's great because, you know, the world is vast and there's so many different languages, and just being able to have our books translated into multiple is, it's really cool. My bookshelves are, waiting for all of the
Please send all the books to
That's
them.
exactly it. I want all of them. And it's just so like when we were in the bookstore here last night, we passed by a book that looked exactly like Stacey Marie Brown's Czech Republic cover, and I did a double take because it looked exactly like it, same color, similar kind of images, but I turned around.
It's not.
It was not, obviously it was not her book, but I was like, wait a minute. It looked a lot like it. And I was like, oh, well, that was really cool that it was very similar. But, just seeing the difference, but then obviously two different countries. And it wasn't even her book. So it was, somebody, I don't even know who it was. But I was like, oh, obviously that cover works in multiple countries. But it was really neat.
It must be exciting to see different books from different countries, but the same story. We have different covers sometimes and titles. How is it to find anything funny and I don't know the word, but yeah, is it how is it for you to see your author with different books from different countries and languages and covers?
Yeah, it's really amazing. It's like yesterday, y'all weren't there to witness it, but I'll spill the bean on myself here. We walk in the bookstore and we're just walking around, and Sarah sees her books on the side of the thing. And, I can't even talk about it now because I start tearing up. And I was just like, oh, there's her stuff. It's not even my book. I didn't even ask Anastasia if she wanted. She's not my client, not my personal client, but still, I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, there's one of our book babies. It's just amazing. Yes, because it's not necessarily all of our clients' dream to have translations. But just to see them and that, we helped make it possible, and that it might not have been possible if it wasn't for us and some crazy, wild, harebrained idea I had 8 years ago that one of my author friends said, hey, it's totally different. It just is very emotional. It's a happy kind of emotion that obviously that I can't control the tears for, but it's fine. Just like it's amazing. And just to be able to walk into it, well, even in the United States, because in the US, if you're an indie author, you don't necessarily get into bookstores either. So some of those deals that we have done for print distribution, to walk into like a Barnes and Noble and say, oh my gosh, this is my client, just to see it is really neat. But yes, coming to a foreign country, walking into a bookstore and seeing our clients, there's a whole other experience.
I was so excited because the first time I went to a bookstore and I saw one of my books there, and my mind was like, oh my God, I did it. This is my book.
This is me. Yes, this is me.
Take a picture. I did it. I made it. And I have the same feeling when I see a book that I worked with, like, I did the edits, I did the translation, I did anything in this book, and I entered in my bookstore and I'm like, oh my God, this is
mine. This is mine
too.
Yes. Aproveitar esse momento aqui para contar para vocês que estão aí que a partir de agora, que a Stephanie estava contando que viu o livro da Sarah lá na livraria, a gente vai ter outros livros da Gift em livrarias. Esse papo para um outro dia, mas fiquem ligadinhos, né? Já é bom recado para ela.
She was saying that now it's difficult to enter the bookstores in Brazil. It's really difficult. We had a lot of problems, bookstore closing this past few years. So it's a tough market, and we finally are entering the bookstores now. And you guys saw the books from Sarah yesterday, and we're gonna have more books of our adult author there and other bookstores, and we're really, really happy.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
Aguardem que vai ter, assiste o livro da Gift nas livrarias.
that was one of our goals as a publisher to be in more places because the online market is very important. Everybody buys books, but we have this this idea that you are you're just going to be an author or a publisher when you are in the bookstores. I don't know if the
Yes,
US
we
they
have
are
that
not.
same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, can I go to this bookstore and buy your book? No, it's not. But you can buy online. You can buy on Amazon.
Right.
But now we're going to say, yeah, go there.
Yes, you can do that. Yes, it's the same. We have that kind of same snobbery, if you will,
Yeah.
for like New York Times bestsellers, or like really. I have a family member that when I first started this business, he was like, "Well, this book is not worth it if it's not New York Times," and I was like, "Do you know how hard it is to get on the New York Times bestsellers list? Like that is complete and utter snobbery, just because it's a New York. I mean, like." They are that list is a snob list. Like you really have to have impressed them in order to get on the list because they will pick and choose no matter, like your sales do matter in order to get in front of them. But then also too, it's not just based on sales.
Yeah.
And so, like there are thousands of other books that are being published the same week that might be way better than something made on the New York Times list. You just don't know. But yes, it's the difference obviously in the indie and the traditional market too, because obviously the traditional route is going to get you in the bookstores automatically, whereas the indie is all online.
Yeah.
Yes.
The readers consulting or very lists for buying books.
Yeah. People go to this list and see, oh, if this is number 1, this is number 10, so it's good. If you're not on the list, then this book is not good, but not necessarily. Sometimes people just didn't find the book yet. Yeah.
Right. Yes. I don't know. I see some of those lists and I'm like, but my authors write just as good, or they, of course we're going to be biased and say that our authors write better than some, but of course, I mean, that's your job as an agent, right? Is to really promote your authors and their books and really believe in their work so that you can get it out there to, and I understand that not every market is going to understand the books that we have or really take off. Some of the books that we have a lot of slang in them and they just don't translate well. And then we have some that obviously, like Sarah's, that are amazing and will definitely, or we have, who else of ours that people love here? Lily White or Stacey Marie Brown. And that people absolutely love. Yeah, Rachel. That people love. They're all my clients. But
we're not going to be biased here.
Right, exactly. Those are all my people. Yes. But yeah, it's just it, and of course it goes back to choice, right? And preference of what people like to read and what resonates with them and what kind of stories. Like I said, Lily White, her stories are not like any of those others that we mentioned. I mean, they're completely different and off the wall sometimes with her subjects, but she writes amazing stories. And they're just, you should wait till you read what she's writing now. But anyway, no teaser there for Lily at all. But yeah, anyway, we have been discussing her new work in progress a lot lately, and so yes, you will be surprised when you see what it is. But it's really good. Anyway, of course, like another Lily book, but she does not write like anybody else. She's definitely a totally different client than most romance authors, even those that write dark. I haven't really found anybody that can touch her line of dark.
We when we started publishing the circle, the set that it was
Anti-Hero Inferno.
The Anti-Hero Inferno series from Lily. A few books were already published in English, so we were going like this book, and people are like, oh, I need another one, and we have this one already, and we have this one already. But when we matched her, it was like, now calm down, people.
I'm right.
You have to wait. She's going to write, and then we're going to translate. So calm down.
Yes, yes. And I felt bad about that series because, you know, I don't know, do your readers know about her health?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's 3 years ago now. Yes, it was 3 years ago. She was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And so in that process, obviously with chemo and radiation, which almost killed her, I might add, and not as just a slight to her, but that's to the radiologist that did the radiation. Anyway, thanks for all this. She is fine now. Yes, she is in remission. I mean, the cancer is kind of still there in the lung, but the radiologist who did the radiation fried her lung, so it doesn't expand anymore. So it's basically like a pancake, but the cancer is still there, but it's not able to leave the lung. Yeah. So remission, not remission, gone but not gone. Okay. Yeah, it's not affecting any other organ in her body, which is great. So just have to make sure that it doesn't somehow decide to try to figure out a way out of that dead-ish lung. So yeah, because of that, she's had some issues with her hands. Her arms have been catching on like fires, what it feels like to her. You know, like when your hands or your feet or legs go to sleep, like if you've been in the same position so far, but worse than that tingly feeling, she wasn't able to move her fingers. She could move, like they were stuck, almost like in arthritis, like if you have arthritis and your fingers can't move past this, but she couldn't lift anything. She couldn't move her arms. She could move her thumbs, but she couldn't. It's been very difficult. And she's finally found a rheumatologist that can help her fix all of that. There's some other things that she's had to get done first, of course. But anyway, we hopefully are on the right path with finishing that. And she had to, in this process, of course, this very, very dark story came to her, and she was like, I have to get this out first before I can go back to writing the circles, because she has 4 books left in the circles. I think we're up to 5, right? She has 5 left to do.
Yes.
5.
Thinking there was only 4.
Tree.
Hearsay. Agreed.
Agreed. No, agreed, no.
Yeah, that's number 2. Yes.
2 enganos, como é que é, hein? Fraud. Heresy. Violence, anger.
Yes, 5. So 5 are out. Yes. She has 4 more left to write.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we're off.
Calma, tá, gente? A gente tá contando 5, vocês já devem estar gritando aí. Eu não tenho 5, eu só tenho 4. Calma, que já vem o 5º. Calma.
Yes, 5 are out. 4 left to write. They will be coming. They will be coming. She had to get out all of this dark stuff that she was feeling, because in that series, that darkness does not really work. It's not.
Dark a gente gosta, né? Dark. Anota aí.
She was saying that she has a really good dark book, so stay ready.
Okay.
We like dark books. Yeah, this is our own.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, the one that she is writing is a mix. I was telling Anastasia last night. It's a mix of some of her more favorite dark books. And then, so once she does that and finishes this one, it's called The First. And so once the first is finished, and then she's supposed to go back to the last 4 books of the Antihero Inferno series. And then after that, she's supposed to write my book.
Okay.
Hopefully she does, which is the Lincoln from The Danger You Know.
Yeah.
That's what you call it here, The Danger You Know. So she basically plays 2 characters in that book, and I am Lincoln in said story. So then I get my own
Okay.
So I've been saying, okay, you need to make sure that he says this, he needs to do this, and can he do this? And
She's not even thinking about the book yet, but you're like,
I'm
you
always
have to
like,
be on the story.
put this in the notebook for Lincoln. It has to go in the story.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Like, this is going to be crazy because she's actually, I play a role in, she and I both play roles in a number of her books.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see how she thinks of me in those, as those characters. And because we're really close friends, obviously, you can't tell, but we are really, like best friends. And so for her to add me to the story and see how she portrays me as a character in those stories, it's quite an interesting experience. But yeah, the last one, the very first time she put me in a book, I had to giggle because, like it was, it's me, but you don't know it's me. But then throughout the story, I'm just giggling throughout the whole story because I know it's me.
It's not your name. Another name.
Yes, another name.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she, like I waited to see if any of my other friends that also read her book, that know me very well, could pinpoint my character in the book.
This.
Yeah. They couldn't. They thought I was somebody else.
Okay.
She did a great job with not really portraying me, but not like really giving it away as to which character.
Now that you're going to have a whole book about the whole character, I know that for a say, this lady was crazy.
Yeah, I'm not that crazy. I'm not an assassin for hire, so I don't have to worry about. I mean, that's
book.
Yeah. Well, it's have you read The Danger You Know yet?
No.
Okay, so the hero in
Yeah.
that story is an assassin for hire, and his best friend's name is Lincoln.
Okay.
And so so she plays Ari, or she is Ari. Realistically, neither one of us are assassins for hire, but a lot of our personalities come out in their characters. And like I just die laughing, and Lincoln would say something to Ari in the book, and like, okay, I just didn't say that to her the other day. Like it would just be, it's just random stuff. They would banter back and forth with each other, not necessarily take on our personalities, but stuff that we would say to one another or do, or thoughts that we've had or shared.
Like, you had to put these on the book.
This, you need to add this because this is going to be totally Lincoln, it's funny how we just randomly come up with stuff. But yes, I mean, I don't do that with all of my authors, but it's fun to be able to do that with some of them, to just kind of say, why doesn't this? What do you think about that? That's another cool part about my job, is to help with, there's a book that comes out next week. That you're kind of probably want. It's called Wicked Rival, and it's an Emily Snow title. Did you read Emily when she first came out in English? 2012. Devoured was her first novel. Emily Snow. She hasn't written under Emily in a while, but this one is a hockey book, but it's
Hockey. We like.
Do you like hockey?
It's funny because we don't watch hockey in Brazil. We don't have this.
Because you don't have it's too hot here.
Don't have people don't see snow. People don't know what it's like, but there's a fever about hockey, and everybody's writing about hockey. About I don't know how to say, but the dance on the ice.
Yes,
people are like crazy about this, and we don't have this in Brazil. It's not funny.
But that's good. That's good for people. Yeah,
Baseball.
Yeah.
Football, né? We like your football is a football Americano.
Yes.
It don't have in Brazil.
Yeah, just that soccer.
We don't understand the rules in Brazil of this because it's very
Foreigners don't like soccer, but players of football Americano, oh gosh,
They love them.
yeah. We have more.
insane.
We have more published books. This is all from my head, but we have more books published about football than soccer. It's funny.
Yes.
Because I don't know. I don't know, people.
Well, you have soccer here. Well, football. Yes,
I
not
think
foot
it's
American,
just
but yes.
so normal to us, soccer all the
It's
time.
not
The TV.
It's not glamorous.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
Because you have that here, whereas football and hockey, you don't have that here, so it can be glamorized, I guess, a little bit more. Yes, yeah. But Emily, it's that I was helping her with some of her story. It's really kind of cool. She said, "Will you read this and tell me what you think?" Yeah, sure. And so giving some feedback about what do you think about in this scene? What is happening here? Obviously, this is explained probably later, but this is how I am seeing the story now. It's just really kind of cool to be able to offer those opinions and, before the story is released, and to possibly be able to shape a story in a different manner, but not in a bad way, but, to assist with care. And that's what I like about
I was going to ask you about this. How when the author says to you, I have an idea for a book, how this is in the agents for you? How is this process? You have a time to read and to make comments. How do you prepare this book to be published?
Well, so
this is the funny part.
Yeah, well, there's two different routes because of the traditional route and then the indie route. With the indie books, we don't have too much unless they ask us to read.
Yes.
And so, like, I will read obviously with Lily White, and I've helped Emily Snow with hers. I help Ashley Jade sometimes with hers. And there's a couple of others that have said, "Will you read this scene and offer, like, tell me what you think about it?"
Yeah.
And then there are others that are like, "I'm not publishing anything until you read this book. You tell me what it is that I need to do, and then I'll read it." And then I'll fix it. And I'll try to read as they write, which is kind of hard, in fitting in that in this, because you're also working and you don't want to ruin the love of reading while working on a story, and I have a lot of authors that are like, I just don't read anymore. I don't read in the same genre that I write because, like, I love this genre, but I don't want it to influence in what I'm writing. So it makes a difference, and especially since I represent a lot of clients of books I love to read, right? It makes my narrow down when I read. So I don't right now. I've not for the last 2 years. I've not been reading anything that I represent. So that's a good thing, I suppose. But in the traditional market, it's going through and making sure that it hits certain points and that it's not sounding like an indie novel. That it sounds more on a traditional level, which not necessarily is totally different, but then again, it is totally different. And so, they're like, how many scenes, can I have? How many, does it need to just be, can they hold hands? Can they kiss? Can they make out? Like, how far can I go? I'm like, well, I mean, you could have closed door, or you could have, some on the page, but it can't be graphic, you can't, I mean, 50 Shades is like an anomaly as far as that's concerned, but it did so well as an indie book that they picked it up in the traditional market, but that would not be a traditional book that they would have originally bought because it has too much in it as far as, traditional publishing in the US is concerned. So, it really is totally hard.
Usually when we have an author that are selling a lot in the independent market and a publisher wants this author for them, they don't publish the same book. They publish a new one, and this new one is editing differently. Yeah.
And then it hurts their readership, I think, when they do that, because the readers are used to the sexy time.
Yeah. Sometimes they read these books because of this.
So. Exactly. And then you take it out and it's not the same book, and then the publisher is miffed because it didn't sell as well as their indie. Well, you took out all the good stuff. What do you expect? Like, if you're not giving the same material.
Start because of this.
Yes.
If you take this off.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 because they do that. The traditional route does that because then their readers that they have will come after them in a negative manner. And we all know about cancel culture these days. So they would totally go after the publisher if you added stuff that wasn't their normal. Obviously they didn't do that with 50 Shades because it was like such a phenomenon. But if you try to do something like that now, it would pretty much not fly because they would just be pitchforks and torches. You know, it would just, it's so totally different.
So, no,
right? But you would think. But then, so I think it's also in the country that you're from. I don't know about here, but like in the United States, we don't really talk about sex. We don't talk about intimacy within partners. We don't talk about, you know, like sex is basically a taboo subject. You just, that is something that you talk about at home behind closed doors, and you don't. It's right. Like you don't share that. You don't talk about it. It's not a thing. You know, it's not like where you go to Europe and there are like sex everywhere. And you know, like you go to France and they have the Moulin Rouge. It's like right there in main part of Paris. You know, like you just, I mean, and they have streetwalkers, you know, that's women of the night, whatever you want to call them, you know, like prostitutes, women for hire. I don't know what you want to call them, but you know, like that's a normal thing, and people don't poo-poo it. You know, like it's not like a negative thing. That's their job. If people know that's what they do, and it's not a taboo thing. But in the United States, no, it's very taboo, and that's not a thing. So for our books, our traditionally published books, you can't have stuff like that normally because it's just. It's not, we don't do that here. Yeah, so even in your fiction novels, you can't have that fantasy of fiction unless it's a fantasy novel. Now in fantasy, you can get away with a lot of stuff. But like if it's just a true fiction, romance fiction novel, you can't, the majority of the time, 99% of the time, you can't get away with putting extra stuff in there. Yeah. You know, so I'm sure probably in other markets it's probably the same. But yeah, there are culturally, it makes a difference as to what you can get away with.
Yeah. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Pessoal, obrigada. A gente volta em breve com mais um episódio para vocês. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Pega aí as informações que a Stephanie deu e vai atrás do seu sonho de escrever uma história também. Ó, beijo. Bye.
Bye.